Hello everyone and welcome back to the ESI August League. We are here for my first team builder of the season. So team builder is a term that I took. One sec, let me turn the game down a little bit for you guys. Should be quite low. Team builder is a term that I took from the competitive Pokemon community, where obviously in those games you actually were building a team before every game, but I'm basically going to go over my team. The format, let me introduce the format to you guys. So every time I do one of these, and then we're going to do one every time I have a PvP game next. The next PvP game is the Flying Trash Cans, my Halfling team, taking on Marshall's Wood Elf team. And I'm going to talk about how the league has gone so far, my games against the AI, how the other teams are doing. Of course, Marshall's Wood Elves, Toe's Undead, and Charles's Kislev Circus team. And we're going to talk about how they're doing, how I think the league is shaping up, how I think my forward prospects are looking, and what I'm planning on doing going into the next game. We'll usually kick off by taking a look at the games, what's been going on, moving on to any level ups. I will do all of the level ups that I have that I've accrued in the game directly prior to the PvP game on screen. For Halfling, this isn't actually going to happen that often. We actually do have 2 level ups to show you today, so that's exciting. I kind of explain what I'm going for in the level ups and what I eventually pick and why. A lot of that's probably going to be team specific about who I'm facing next. I know in particular, unless I roll particularly well on one of my level ups today, they will be specifically targeting Marshall's team, although it's not going to be as effective after he's gone through the most recent games. But again, we'll talk about that in a second. We're not always going to be entirely up to date. For example, this round, I've played my game, Charles has played his game, but Toe and Marshall actually have a PvP game that has not gone through yet, so we won't be able to take a look at that. But today, before we get started, I wanted to take a look at my Halfling roster and the general MO of the Halfling team, because this is the first team builder, and so I haven't really gone over what I want to do with my Halfling team, what the strategy is, what the plan is. So I'm going to assume you have a basic understanding of how Blood Bowl works, because to explain to you all of the very basics as to how tournaments and teams work is a very long process, and it's something that's best saved for a different format. So I'm going to assume that you know generally how team value and tournaments and teams work and races work, and I'm just going to explain to you what makes Halflings different to other races. The most important thing about Halflings is that, one, they're a bad team. They're intentionally bad. They're there to play to have fun, to challenge yourself, and to generally do stupid things. Their linemen are terrible. They are... I'll show you them now, actually. Let's get into the actual team. Their linemen are Oh, that's a leveled up lineman. We'll start with this one. Are these guys. Movement allowance 5, strength 2, agility 3, armor value 6. One of the worst players in the game. I think the second worst. They are worse than a goblin, I think, because I think goblins are armor value 7. And they are slightly better than the snotlings. Tichlings, Noblars, the ogre linemen, although you can have so many ogres on an ogre team that the ogres are kind of the linemen, but they're not unlimited like these guys are, or like the Noblars are. So Noblars are slightly worse. Well, they're better in some ways. They can dodge on 2+s and stuff, but obviously strength 1 is freaking terrible. So they're probably better than Noblars. But they're still really bad. Only have agility access, which obviously sucks. General is kind of important to have just a generally okay player. Without general access, you can't really get anything. Agility's okay. We're going to go over that when we go into the level ups, but bad players. You make up for a little bit. They can be thrown, and Stunty lets you do some fun stuff, but they can be thrown, which is where these guys come in, the tree men, who are the best teammate throwers in the game. They have strong arm, and they have no loner, and no always hungry. So pretty much you can pass on a 2+, and that's pretty good. The landing's still a coin flip, but the 2+ pass is actually alright, and it makes Halflings pretty much a throw teammate team. We're not going to be using it for a ton, but it is probably the biggest strength of the team. So those are the positionals. What makes Halflings somewhat decent then? And also you can get 2 trees plus a star player tree, so there's quite a lot of trees on this team. And the star player tree has 7 strength and block, which makes him pretty good. So yes, What do you do to kind of make halflings viable? Well, you start a lower team value. What I've done is I have got... let me take a drink. This is a pretty standard halfling build. 12 players, 1 reroll, no apothecary, and what I did is I spent the extra money that I started with on leveling up my stadium once and getting the Nuffle Altar, which makes Deeproot cost, I think it's 250 at home, which is good. It's alright. And that essentially means that you're about 600 team value, or about 650 with 200k in the bank. Obviously, everything over 150 counts towards your team value, so you're really 600. But you're 650 because you're 50 over, and then you can spend that 50k on your first round of inducements. And you really want about 400k to spend on inducements, because then you get Deeproot Strong Branch, which is a 3-star player, for 300k, and a Halfling Master Chef, which only costs 100k for these guys, and has the possibility of stealing 3 rerolls per half from your opponent, which is why you only need to start with 1 reroll. You do want rerolls on a Halfling team, because you can reroll Take Root on the trees, which is pretty good. You can also just reroll anything on the trees. And also rerolling pickups is something that you're probably going to be doing a lot. So you don't want them, but starting with 1 is fine, because you're usually going to steal at least 1 a game, so you're going to end up playing with 2.5. And you can play up to 4 if there's enough to steal. It's pretty good. So yeah, the name of the game with halflings is staying at least 400k underneath your opponent's team value. 350 if you're at home and you've got the Nuffle Altar. It's a nice little alteration there. Any more is great. If you've got the Nuffle Altar, I believe Puggy, who is a halfling with Strength 3 and Block, and also an Urge of Steel, but it's mainly just a Strength 3 Block halfling, is what you're going for on Puggy, is 90k. I think that's with the altar. And then Zara the Slayer, I believe, is 220 with the altar. Zara is a Strength 4, I think she's Movement 6, I think she's Armor 8, but she might be 7. That's still less squishy than a halfling. And she has Blodge, so she's kind of a better Puggy. She doesn't have Stunty, but she has more strength, and she's a great ball carrier. You can't reroll the pickup with her, but she's a lot harder to block than any of the halflings, that's for sure. So there you go. That's the idea of halflings. We'll now go into the regular format of these team builders, where I show you how the league has gone. So we will start with day 1, where we played against the Honourable Swords. We we beat them 3-0, and a dead guy got the MVP for them. That sucks. Deeproot got our MVP, which is actually really good. We'll talk. I should have probably talked about this during the team setup, but we kind of, like I said, we want to keep our team value low, which means our SPP management is kind of to make sure nobody levels up. We're okay with level ups, because every level up means we might get an Agi 4 stunty halfling, or we might get doubles for a great dirty player guy, or whatever. We could get some really great Nuffle rolls, but generally speaking, I'm sticking to like kind of a wage cap system with the halflings, where 5 skills across the team, unless you roll something crazy. So if we end up having more than 5 skills across the team, halflings start retiring, which is fine. You get to retire, it's a good day. So I believe BT1 scored 2 touchdowns in this game, and 2-1B scored the 3rd. Injury for him, 2 injuries for him, that's a tree. So that is the Death Star. And then Deeproot got 7 because he injured a guy, and also I got the MVP. So it's a good little start against the Bretts there. Solid 3-0 victory, obviously. Usual stuff. I think this was the game where I broke his drive, as halflings tend to do against AI, and after I broke his drive, he ignored the ball. I threw a teammate, he picked it up and scored, and then I slowly ground him out on my drive for the 3-0. Charles' team, the Kislev, won 4-0. Marshall's team was upset by the Norse. Armor 7 versus Armor 7, but universal block on the Norse teams means their block efficiency was a little bit better, and thus he eventually broke that Armor 7, and Marshall's team kind of faded away. At least that's what I assume happened. Also, apparently Marshall made some mistakes, he said. So that was okay. Typical undead grind from Toe as he defeated, I'm going to guess that's Skaven. Let me check. Yes, it is. Oh, how your names are so generic, Skaven. So, good stuff from him. And on day 2, We had Toe defeating the Norse 2-0. We had Marshall getting that 3-0 victory over the Bretts. That was fun. I watched that one live with him earlier today, actually. And general elf bullshit stuff. Finally, it seemed like Marshall finally clicked with how to play elves, which is good. I think he's going to have a much better understanding going forward, which is good to see, of course. And Charles beat the Leather Tyrants, who I think are ogres, 3-0. As for us, we beat the Black Guzzlers 2-0. I believe that's the vampire team. Pretty standard stuff. We broke their drive, and then we ground out our drive. Let me check, actually, to see who got the points there. 000 did get the MVP, which is fine. It's not a huge deal, especially since he's never going to get that pass off. BB8 managed to level up, and then Dreadnought, who is the tree, and the Power Fling got level ups, got injuries. BB8, I think, scored both touchdowns there. So, yeah, moving on to day 3, which is where the first instance of PvP took place. We'll do Toe first. Toe defeated the Celestial Spurs, who must be an elf team, right? Yeah, they're pro elves. 2-0. And then I drew. In the 5 seasons of ESI, I have never dropped points to the AI. It took me 3 games, but finally Halflings got me to do it. I did drop points to this human team. My armor just broke. You know, it was something where I played defense, I couldn't break his drive, and the attrition just got me. I think I had 4 or 5 pieces left, and obviously, if you start getting attrition as halflings, it sucks because your trees can't make plays. They're great roadblocks, but they can be outrun so easily, and it's so difficult to have forward momentum as a halfling team if you're losing halflings, because you kind of need to swarm positionals if you want to get anything going as a halfling team. So my armor just broke. As you can see, they got 13 armor breaks versus 5. A lot of those were removals, of course. And actually, can we see KOs and stuff? There you go. They inflicted 6 KOs and 2 injuries. Which isn't as much as I remembered, actually. But, that's still 8 players. And I started with 12. I think I only had 1 star player for this game. It was Deep Root. I was down a tree. I think I might have even started with... I think I started with 12 players. Which is not a lot for a halfling team. Obviously, we have 12 players base. We tend to add Deep Root. So we tend to like to have 13 players. 2 on the bench, obviously. And then... the ideal halfling scenario is you get Puggy or Zara, and you've got a 14-man roster. But it was not to be the case. We started with 12 here, and we were down to 4. Well, I don't think this is true. This is obviously true, but I think some of the chaos did wake up, so I don't think we were ever down to 4. But the attrition was clearly a huge deal here. I probably could have played a lot better. I probably could have made some more crazy plays. I think I did end up throwing a fling towards the end with the ball. But no successful landing, which is the likely result. 'Tis what 'tis. So, yes, moving on to the actual PvP game, where Charles beat Marshall 2-0 in the snow. It was snowing for the first half of the game, and then got a bit sunnier. Sorry, I did say Charles and Marshall, right? If I said other players, Charles playing Atara Strikers and Marshall playing the 501. Charles just drove well. Managed to break through Marshall's line. I wasn't watching the first half, but if it was a typical Charles player, it was just a normal drive. And in the second half, Armor 7 just broke. Marshall started feeling the attrition. There's some good plays in there. He almost got there, but the Armor 7 broke. Marshall got out of there without too many casualties, which is good. And Marshall's team has turned quite sensational. Wrapping us up then, before obviously this PvP game hasn't happened. Charles 5-0, huge, not even a blitz. There was a blitz, but Charles didn't score from it. It was turn 16, so that's just ridiculous. Obviously, I've had 5-0 games with faster teams before. Obviously, beating the AI by a big number isn't necessarily like the craziest thing in the world. The AI in Blood Bowl 2 is notoriously bad, but just having the time to turn out 5 touchdowns is impressive all in itself. And while Kislev are pretty fast, they're not blazing or anything. So this is very impressive. Don't know exactly what happened here, but I'm sure it was ridiculous. And we managed to get our 2-0 victory over the Underworld. Denizens. We had Puggy score in the first half, breaking their drive, and we scored with R2D2 in the second drive. In our drive, which was good. Solid game. Grindy. Managed to break a lot of armor. Undead are pretty squishy. Kept all 3 trees. I have my tree. Actually, my tree in day 2 got injured. Broken leg. Fractured leg. So he wasn't playing. That's one of the reasons why I mentioned we were starting with only 12. Is because one of my full-time trees got his armor broken, his leg fractured. So he was out for that game. But he's back for this one. And you can definitely tell the difference. Alright. So with that sorted, again, we're going to go through the other teams. This will go a lot faster as the weeks progress, because there'll be less to say. Toast team is an undead team, pretty much at the peak of its powers. He's got to spend that 40k soon, because it's really inflating his team value. But his whites got both Mighty Blow. Not how I would have played it. I think the guard is too valuable on the whites not to have as on at least one of them. But I can see the strategy in getting them their SPP generators first, and then switching over to the ghoul, because that means then if you get guard on one of them, you don't really want to be scoring touchdowns with them. And if you're not scoring touchdowns with them, you're not getting too much SPP on them anymore. Whereas the Mighty Blow actively helps them get SPP and get to guard faster. So I can see it. I just think, the earlier you get guard on those guys, the more valuable your team is going to be. He did manage to get one of his mummies level up early, though, which is always a challenge. So congratulations for that. And it's got guard, so it kind of makes up for it. And he got sure hands on the ghoul. Very, very kind of situational pick. I think he was up against wood elves next, and knew that strip ball war dancers are scary, so went for sure hands. That's definitely totally fair. Obviously, you'll want block on this guy first, or wrestle if you're going for a ball sacker. But I think his second goal is probably going to end up being the ball sacker if he gets one. We've had conversations in this league about me and him about the value of ghouls on an undead team. I'm definitely a little prejudiced in that regard, because I play a lot of Necro, which have a very different role for ghouls. You might remember ESI Season 2. I'm not sure how many videos got surfaced about that, but I played Necro there. And in Undead, obviously they have a very different role, because they're a lot faster than any of their other players. But Toe seems to be like-minded in that the ghouls aren't terribly valuable in this format, and might not grab another one. Not sure, though. We'll see. This is a fast format, in all fairness, with the 2 Kislev and the Wood Elf team. Going to take a look at the Wood Elf team, which has suffered some losses, not a ton. I think they had to replace their catcher at some point, so that's interesting. 1 level up on the Dancer. Got Strip Ball. Pretty good. I mean, it's what you really want on the Dancer. Now he's quite ridiculous. You pretty much get the ball in all scenarios. He is crazy. He can leap into cages. He is an absolute and utter monster, and he should be feared at all costs. He is ridiculous. We sat down with Russell after that 3-0 game where he got... Oh, no, it was actually after Charles's game, where he managed to get these level ups on Obi-Wan, Hardcase, and Jesse. And we watched as he systematically rolled double sixes, doubles, and an 11 for him to get strength up and guard, which is obviously a crazy double to get. Because sorry about that, I had to take another drink. It's really crazy to get right in a row, because you basically double the blocking capability of your Wood Elves. Strength 4 is a bunch of 2-die blocks you wouldn't have had otherwise. Guard is a bunch of 2-die blocks you wouldn't have had otherwise. He's massively increased his capabilities there. This is starting to be quite a scary Wood Elf team if he can start using it correctly. And an Agi5 catcher is scary. Not the scariest at the moment, but it gives him so many options. He can pick up in a tackle zone. He can dodge into a tackle zone. He can leap on a 2+ if he gets it. He can catch in a tackle zone. He is a very scary player. Surf capabilities, elf bullshit capabilities, ball carrying capabilities. He is a unique player. Agi5 lets you do things that other players just dream of doing, and interested to see where he takes it, because really for him the next level up is really important. He takes leap and starts becoming kind of a backup sacker. I don't think you really have the power for that without wrestle, and that's a long way away when you start developing players like this. In this format, I think you just take block on this guy, have a blodge Agi5 ball carrier. I think that's the way to go, but we will see. He has 2 catchers, 2 dancers, and a lineman team. Didn't opt for the tree. That's fair. That's a build that's definitely viable. He is thinking about the tree as one of his next purchases. He likes it. Late game, which is perfectly fine. His war dancers are still alive. Hopefully they will be by the time he purchases that tree. And then he didn't opt for a thrower because he couldn't get the thrower and the catcher and the 2 dancers. And he was thinking about doing a passing game. He started with a thrower build. He started with only one of the catchers, but he originally was going to start with a thrower instead of a catcher and make the war dancers and kind of budget throwers. I said to him, budget catchers, and I said to him I didn't think that was a great idea, because you want the war dancers to be kind of positional pieces and use their power and use their positional abilities. And if you want a catcher, I said you should probably just get a catcher. And obviously, starting with 3 movement 8 pieces versus 2 movement 8 pieces, I felt was a benefit. So, and he agreed, and he ended up going for the catcher instead. He's since got a second one. He now has 4 movement 8 pieces. Very fast team. One of the best. I think it's the best running team in the game, and at times it's worked. At times it has worked in the one game, but obviously early game jitters with elves is always going to happen, and Charles is a good player playing a good team. So that's not entirely unexpected. Speaking of Charles, here is his Kislev team. Suffered an unusual amount of losses. I believe he suffered 2 deaths. At the moment, he's down to just 9 players. We'll get to Journeyman. However, Plo Koon is going to be back next game, which is always good for him. He has done the typical Kislev thing of level up the blitzers, which is absolutely the way to go. They are ridiculously strong pieces. In my opinion, the 3rd best piece in Blood Bowl, next to the War Dancers and the Vampires, and they are ridiculous. They have obviously start off with movement allowance 7, and then otherwise just average there. But movement allowance 7 means that they're very fast, very agile, very good blitzers, like human blitzers, and they obviously get general agility. Oof, that's what makes them different. And strength. Obviously, general strength is pretty common blitzer access. General strength, movement allowance 7 is fine, but they get movement strength and agility, and they start with some really good niche skills that, while they don't open up anything, well, they don't necessarily make the Kislev blitzers great rookies. They open up late game options that are ridiculously good for them. Leap and very long legs makes them as good at leaping as war dancers. Jump up means that they have 1, more mobility, 2, more blocking options, because obviously you can make a block while downed with jump up, which is, not always the way to go, but is an option. And diving tackle makes it a 5+ for elves and a 6+ for anyone else to actually do it. That combined with jump up means you don't lose a lot from doing that either. Block as the first skill on your first 2. I might go block wrestle, but definitely block or wrestle on your first 2 suddenly turns them into proper blitzers, which is kind of a thing. It takes 1 level up for them to be proper blitzers, but it doesn't take long for that to happen. And then once you've got that, you can start spinning them off into all different directions. Charles has gone for a blodged one here. It's pretty good. This guy can only be knocked down on a POW now unless you have tackle. Makes him a nuisance for sure, and he can jump up and he can diving tackle you. He is annoying to deal with, and very consistent on the offense. And we don't know what he's going to go for next. What would I go for next if I were him with blodge? Maybe shadowing. I don't know. That's kind of that's the recent Skaven in me talking. I'm sure he has better ideas than I do. Maybe tackle. Maybe strip ball, things like that, but he's definitely going to build a dedicated sacker soon. And he's gone, interestingly, with Mighty Blow on this blitzer. I think people are underestimating guard in a big way in this league and going for Mighty Blow instead. It's good for SPP generation, but he's going to be scoring a lot with the blitzer, so I'm not sure that was necessarily necessary. Dodge would have been alright. I think definitely building some of these guys into Actually, this is probably his ball carrier now that I think about it. And you go sidestep fend, maybe kick off return after that. You build some of these guys into ball carriers, some into ball sackers, some into general blitzers. You definitely want to build a killer or two. No doubt about that. With jump up, you can just go piling on with these guys, which is great, and just be unabashedly okay with that. And on the catcher, he got dodge, agility 4. Very long legs means he leaps on a 2+, and he obviously comes with leap, as all the Kislev players do, except for the Kroxigor. And yeah, no, he's got a centralized team, as Charles tends to, and he's about to log in and get his level up, so maybe we can check back on that by the end of the day. He got a centralized team, as Charles tends to do, but it's Kislev. These blitzers are going to be absolute monsters by the end of the league, and he can have 4 of them, and I hope he does. I'm very excited. I think the final is going to be Charles versus Toe, and I'm hoping that Charles makes a very exciting team to turn that final into something worth watching. So, Marshall. That is our next opponent. Marshall is fast. Our trees are going to be left behind in a lot of situations. And what we need to try and make sure of is that the flings can at least get good blocks. The war dancers are terrifying, absolutely terrifying, and it's going to be nigh impossible to get them down. If they get down, they're getting fouled. Every day they're getting fouled. But I don't know how viable it's going to be to get them on the ground. I'm hoping we get deeper near them. I think I'd love doubles on this. Either way on this fling, I think we're getting something good. Because if he levels up and he rolls normals, we get diving tackle. Marshall has already seen diving tackle. It messed with him apparently in the Charles game. It was in the first half that I didn't see. So he knows about it. But it's still really useful. It's really difficult to get around. He's going to be able to block me off a lot of times, which is why diving tackle is generally not good on flings, because you can just block them. But still, you got to make him roll the dice where he wouldn't necessarily have to. And blocking is more dangerous than dodging. So, well, without diving tackle, which is why diving tackle is great. If we roll doubles, I think there's an argument that I should grab wrestle on this guy, because it's another option to get the damn war dancer on the floor to go and foul him. It's sad that my doubles rolled dirty player is not going to be there next game, because obviously I want him for the war dancer. But still, following that war dancer, get him on the ground. Neither of those are going to be long-term solutions, but we already have our long-term skills. If Power Fling can get the war dancer on the floor or diving tackle someone, he can retire in peace, because we will have hit our skill cap after this, which is 5 skills on the team. But these are the skills that we want. Everyone else is just auxiliary, and if they become a bloat, we can fire them. But we want 2 sidesteps to put behind the trees. That way, even if they get blitzed, they can, and as long as they don't go over, obviously, they can move to still be within distance of the tree. And we obviously want the dirty player, because it's just an exceptionally good skill. It's not necessarily one that I call him like exempt from the 5 skill limit or anything. That would be more of an agi up or a movement up, something like that. But it's good. It's solid. It's definitely kind of a must in your early level ups. So let's have a look at what our fling gets. Oh shit. Well, that is an interesting pick, because obviously there's a lot of stuff here that, because I thought to myself, I kind of want wrestle, because it's another option to get the war dancer on the floor, like I said. But I don't know if I should take that versus something more long-term. The long-term option is obviously dirty player, or of course block, which, I mean, wrestle is fine. It's just as good as block, kind of. Flings being on the floor isn't a big deal, so wrestle is kind of just as good as block. Or, I don't think anything in passing we really give a shit about. Leader is nice, relatively cheap reroll, but I don't think we need the reroll ever, and 30k is still quite expensive for our team. Hail Mary pass is fun, but stunties can't pass. Accurate, stunties can't pass. Safe throw, stunties can't pass. Nerves of Steel, stunties can't really catch. We'll go check on Charles's level ups now, since he seems to be done. Dump off stunties can't pass, and pass stunties can't pass. But on strength, there's quite a few options. Mighty Blow, Stun Firm, not as good as Sidestep in my... Well, actually, it is better than Sidestep in my opinion in a lot of situations. But Halflings, you kind of want them out of the way. Break Tackle is obviously useless. Grab is obviously useless. Well, not obviously. I mean, you're not going to be making a ton of blocks. Guard is an interesting one, because this guy can obviously stunt you into ridiculous positions and get good blocks. But what are you really going to block with it? Not a ton. Stunties can't pass. That's pretty useless. Juggernaut is fine for frenzy pieces sometimes, but otherwise I don't think it's a very good skill at all. Polygon, it's not going to really come in handy, although occasionally maybe. Thick Skull, sure, stunty, you're going to die anyway. Multiple Block, it's a halfling. So really, only thing from here we're even considering is Guard. But it's interesting, because they can stunt you into some ridiculous positions. 60k Guard player, though? I don't know if that's worth it. So I think the only things we're thinking about are Guard, Wrestle, and Dirty Player. And we're still, I mean, I guess we shouldn't discount Diving Tackle and Sidestep. Because I did kind of want a Diving Tackle player going into this elf game. I mean, we should think about Tackle, honestly. Just for this elf game. Because, I mean, stick him next to something. Get Tackle, get Diving Tackle. It's something where it's like, if I was playing any other team, I'd be interested in it. I think the longevity of this halfling team is not going to really be a thing, is it? If we think about it like that. And we should really be prioritizing what are we going to play in the next game. So even though Guard is like a longevity, would be great for long-term halfling success, that'd be fantastic. But really we should be thinking about how are we going to beat the Wood Elves. And the option is either Wrestle to get him on the ground to foul them, or Dirty Player so that when he does get on the ground, we just destroy him. And I don't know which one's better. So in the meantime, I'll go do an easier choice, which is just to give Grab to this guy, because he's not going to roll doubles, right? No. So in general, on these guys, I just give them Grab. I think it's the way to go. Guard is something where it's like, on the trees, are you going to really be able to get him into a situation where you can really help? I mean, of course, there are always situations where trees being guards is great because they can mark a lot of players and give the halflings maybe a couple of 1-dies. And, you know, obviously if you skew it a little bit, they might eventually be able to get some 2-dies on that. And a tree guarding for another tree makes 3-dies easier. But in general, trees aren't maneuverable enough to really make use of that guard. Everything else in that's pretty bad, if I'm being honest with you. Break Tackle's okay, but with 2 movement allowance, you're not going to make that much use out of it. Even though I think, obviously, in general, Break Tackle on big guys is fine, because you don't want them bogged up in something and blocked and stuff like that. But the trees, it's still a 2+, and do you really want to be making another take route every turn? And it's only movement allowance 2. They're going to be able to catch up to you if they really want to mark you. Just hit them. Just hit them. You need to be using your blocks to move around as a tree. Everything else in that row, I can't think of what else is in strength at the moment. Let's go ahead. Obviously, with trees, you need to roll block. Like, at the end of the day, Grab is the only real option. Oh, multiple blocks, alright. If you... I mean, I don't know with 6. I don't know with 6. I think multiple block is a risky one. You can definitely get some solid double 2-dies out there. But I prefer Grab. I think it's nice. It keeps people around your trees, which is good if they root. And honestly, it's the only skill from strength I would take on a tree naturally. If they've rolled 2 strength skills, they're retiring because they don't have block. They need block. So, this guy, I'm thinking more about guard, because he is a maneuverable guard piece, right? So, I'm thinking more about guard, because I believe in this halfling team, but then I don't. If we go Dirty Player, not only is that good against elves, but it's good for longevity. I like the Wrestle pick, though. It's niche. It's one of those things I could see myself going for and having a good time with. I don't think he's going to ball carry with the War Dancer, though. That makes it even more likely I should take Wrestle. Because if he's not going to ball carry with it, he's going to put him in nasty positions. Yeah. I want the option to foul him. Versus with Dirty Player, even if you have the option, you're not giving yourself the option with Dirty Player. You're just giving yourself a benefit. So, yeah, I'm okay with that. So we've hit our limit on skills. We're 70k over the gold cap, which means we need to spend that money, which is good. If we spend it in ways that waste it, we're down to 700 team value, which is where I wanted to be cap. Marshall's team has actually inflated very nicely. He is going to get a 70k lineman, which means he is going to be 12-10. 12-10 as a journeyman, I mean. So 12-10 means we are good at 700. We are pretty good at 800. So I'm thinking maybe we buy a replacement halfling for BT1. And I'd like to do that too, because BT1's replacement name is pretty memes. It is, of course, BT Openreach. So, I'm thinking we do that. That's, what is that, 30k? And then we drop another 40, and 730 versus his 1210. Need some calcs here, people. You're going to get this here on the team builders. I'm going to do some calculations. Some big brain calculations. One sec. I will show you guys Charles's level ups. I believe he's taken them. Yes, he has. While I do my calcs. Tackle. Guards. Interesting. I thought about that, but I thought on this piece I would have played him ball carrier. I would have gone with some sidestep. On that piece, I'm going to swap these because Mighty Blow Tackle is the way to go. So you can get those dodgers that you want to go. And then a blodge garter that you can't get out of the way. I prefer that. I'm going to tell him. I'm going to go to Discord. I'm going to tell him real quick. Saying in the video you should have swapped those level ups around. So yeah, what are we calculating again? So at 730, right? We're dropping 40k off of that. So it's 1210 minus 730. No, not 73. 1210 minus 730. We're looking at 480 away at home. This is important. We're not at home, which means we need the full 400 for the complement of Deeproot and the Chef. So let's say we add 30 to that. We're at 110 after Deeproot and the Chef. Which means we can grab a bribe, which I don't think is worth it. Because why would you bribe on a halfling? Or we can grab Apothecary, which is obviously useless. Team Reroll, which is obviously useless. And Puggy's going to be too expensive, I think, because he's 140 without the home field advantage. And Zara's going to be too expensive because I think she's 270 without the home field advantage. So either way, I think we're going to end up... Do I want the bribe versus another player? Well, another player kind of reduces the need for a bribe. Because I got a backup. So I think the play is to get another player. As a replacement player. Yeah, because we're not going to be able to afford Puggy or Zara. No matter what we do. Unless we dropped even more players. But that's not really the name of the game. With halflings. We ideally want to start with as many players as we can. So if we buy another player, we start with 13 if you include Deeproot. And I think we end up getting attritioned off by the Woodies. Because their armor value is just generally higher than ours. Oh, so we got the wrestle. Get him on the floor. Get him on the floor. Okay. me see if I like a name better than BT Openreach. I don't think I want a name better than Openreach. By the way, this is called Death Star 3, because originally I had Death Star 2 in there, like with the proper name, rather than just in all caps, and he died. So I was like, I need to mark this with some serious overreaction here, because a tree has died. I think he just got armor broke. Not armor broke, because that would have been fine. But I think he got something broke. He was not in a good state, and I was like, you can retire, good sir. No, I don't like any of these names. I mean, I like a few of these names, actually. But I definitely think BT Openreach or R2P2 is the way to go. So I'm going to go for BT Openreach. Because honestly, this guy might only last a game. Not necessarily I think he's going to get injured. I just... when BT1 comes back, I might decide to can Openreach for better and brighter things. So the efficient thing to do is to buy 4 cheerleaders and fire them, but I'm not efficient, so I'm just going to buy the apothecary and fire it. Gets rid of 50k. There you go. Means we're down to under the goal cap again, which means we're at 730 TV. 730 TV versus his 1210 is going to mean, just to do the final calcs, 1210 minus 730. I mean, we're going to get 480k in inducement money. It means we can buy Deep Root in the chef and have 80k left over. I might add 20k to that to get the bribe. I'm thinking about it. Or I'll grab a Budweiser Babe instead. Or Bloodweiser Babe, sorry. Which will be pretty good, because I think we're going to get attrition. I don't know. Marshall's is very reticent to block on that Woody team, which is the right way to play. But against Halflings, you should definitely use that strength advantage. So we will see. I am hoping to have some fun. Just throw some things, roll some dice, and if they roll 6s, to win the game. And if they don't, to lose horribly. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, this little team prep. Let me know if you enjoyed this concept. It was a very long video. Probably going to be as long as the match. The next ones will be shorter, I promise. But I like to talk about Blood Bowl. So I hope you did enjoy this. If you did, let me know in the comments. Let me know if you have any suggestions and stuff like that. Let me know how you think the game will go. I'll see you guys next time for Marshall's Wood Elf team, the 501st Legion, I think is the full name of the team. Yep, taking on my Flying Trash Cans. Wood Elves versus Halflings. Universal Dodge versus Elves. And yeah, no trees, so it's not a tree mirror match. I hope if we do meet later in the season, we will get to have a wonderful wood off, but not on this occasion. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys next time.